Shutter speed has to do with either freezing motion or showing motion. So let's say you're shooting basketball and you want to capture the moment the person is about to dunk the ball and hang off the rim. All these types of situations, you want those fast shutter speeds like 1/500th of a second, but if you want to show motion within, like, say, a moving waterfall, well, then you need a slower shutter speed, like maybe 2 seconds, sometimes longer. But how does a shutter actually work? A shutter is physical blades that cover the camera sensor and expose the sensor to light, and that sensor is recording the image. Small blades pass over your sensor, coming downward, partially covering your sensor, sometimes one section at a time. But if we slow it down, it would look like this. But shutter speeds have gotten so fast, it's kind of hard to see with your own eye. It just looks like we can see the sensor and then the blades snap over top of it. But that's your shutter, and how fast those blades open and close is chosen by you using your shutter speed. Most of the time, taking a selfie using a shutter speed of like 1/100th of a second is totally reasonable because you aren't moving that much. Sometimes lenses have optical stabilization, and cameras that have in-body stabilization allow you to get sharp images at something like 1/50th of a second or sometimes lower. So there's no set rules on shutter speed, and no one shutter speed is best for all situations. Generally, if you want to show motion, you want something close to a second so that the camera is going to expose the sensor for 1 whole second. Family photos, posing could be done at like 1/100th of a second, and anything over 1/500th of a second is where you want to be to freeze fast-paced motion. So all of these settings could vary depending on the amount of light within a scene and even what aperture you choose. But that's the beauty of photography, right? We get to make these creative decisions, like, for example, with the aperture, do you want to blur the background or do you want to show the background? Okay, that is all controlled by your aperture. Then I would look to my shutter speed and ask myself, am I trying to show motion or freeze motion? And that is all controlled by your shutter speed.